Level 1, the loser. $100 if you last 20 moves. He says it loud enough for the room to hear. There's a chess set on the table, the decorative kind. She's standing 2 feet away. You have every reason not to say yes. You say yes. He sits without taking off his jacket. One hand on the pieces the whole game. You'll understand why that matters in about 4 moves. Move 3. He turns to her. He's going to play the queen. You play the queen. She laughs, surprised, not mean. He doesn't look back at the board. Move 5. The bishop. You play the bishop. Move 7. He stops. The position is lost. You can see it. She can see it. The room can see it. He doesn't play the mate. He leaves your king standing and looks up at her. The queen should stay home. He doesn't collect the 100. He was never going to. He looks at her. She leaves with him. Your friend Ryan puts his hand on your shoulder. Bro, you should actually learn this game. Rating 0. The 100 on the table is about to become the smallest thing you lose. Level 2, beginner. There is a man at the back table who is going to become, without any effort on his part, the most important person in your life for the next several years. You don't know this yet. Right now, you are 11 minutes into your first rated game, and you are losing by a margin you don't fully understand. The club meets Thursday nights in a back room above a pub. 12 boards, maybe 18 people. The specific kind of fluorescent quiet that settles over a room when everyone in it is concentrating on something you haven't learned yet. Nobody welcomes you. Nobody is hostile. They just move pieces. Your first rated game ends when you hang your rook on move 8, see it on move 9, and spend the remaining 12 moves telling yourself it was a calculated sacrifice. It was not. The rook looks safe on that square. Second game. You trade your queen for a pawn around move 12, not intentionally. The sequence evolved and then it was done, and spend 20 moves genuinely confused about the material count. You recount the pieces twice. The result is the same both times. Third game. Checkmate from a direction you didn't see coming. Wait. The game does not wait. Your opponent is already writing the result in a small notebook, capping his pen. 4 losses. Provisional rating, 651. You came in with a system, the London system, from a 22-minute YouTube video watched twice. You play it every game regardless of what the opponent does. One opponent plays a move on move 2 that makes the London structurally irrelevant. You play it anyway. Another does something similar on move 3. Also London. The system has 0 wins tonight. You remain committed. At home later, you find a video calling the London criminally underrated at club level. You bookmark it. You watch it twice. You feel, briefly, better about everything. You also develop opinions about why each opponent played incorrectly. These opinions are confident and completely wrong, a combination that will follow you for approximately 2 years. Nobody at the club is unkind about any of this. They just move on instantly. This is somehow worse than unkindness. Then the man at the back table finishes his game. He's been coming here a while, though you'll learn that later. What you observe now. He beats the strongest player at the club in 24 moves, resets the pieces without pausing, looks past you to the board behind your chair, and waits for the next game. No ceremony, no review. Like the result was categorized before his opponent finished understanding it was over. You ask someone his rating, they tell you. You ask someone his name too, though you already know. You place the face on move 3 of your first game and have been pretending you hadn't since. The number doesn't arrive like information. It arrives like a distance measurement. It is not in the same universe as 651. Not in the same conversation. 5 tabs at home. 1 a.m. Work in 6 hours. And one question now, running quietly underneath everything, that is not going to stop. Is that gap the kind that closes? Or did you just walk in and find your ceiling on a Thursday night in a folding chair? Rating, 987. You open another tab. Level 3, casual club player. The most dangerous thing that can happen to you in chess is not a bad position. It's a long winning streak against people who can't prove you wrong. You have a seat now, a regular seat. You know the Thursday table better than most things in your life right now, the man in board 4 who blunders every endgame when he's ahead on material. The woman in board 2 who plays the Caracan and is genuinely dangerous and has taken money from you twice, whose clock habits signal weakness. You have reads, history. You are, by your own confident assessment, one of the stronger players here. This is almost certainly not true. The table is small enough that nobody can prove it yet. You've memorized the first 5 moves of the Italian game. Move 6 is where everything collapses, every time without exception. You call this adapting to the position. It isn't. You talk about your strategy mid-game like a man who has one. You don't have one. You have a prep line, 2 exploitable reads on regulars and vibes. You play too fast, blunder everything, then ask for a rematch because you weren't focused. You have said this 11 times. It has not been true once. You've also started mentioning, in casual conversation, the time you nearly beat a 1500 rated player in a 4-hour game last September. The story is true. The game was 8 months ago. You have told it 5 times this month. Your friends' faces do something specific when you bring it up. You notice. You continue anyway. Then the questions start. Calmly at first, how many nights a week? How much in entry fees over 6 months? Is this a hobby or something else? You give reasonable answers. Technically accurate. Structurally misleading. She asks why you missed her birthday for the City Open in March. You say you don't remember making that choice. You remember exactly. She ends it on a Saturday afternoon, not during a fight, calmly. 4 nights this week, 3 nights the week before. And you talk about chess the way other people talk about a second job they didn't consult anyone about taking. You don't argue. Some part of you understands she is right. It doesn't change what you do next. 3 weeks later. Mutual friends. It's Marcus. You sit with this information for a long moment. The man who predicted your moves out loud to a room and left with the first girl. Now this one. Same man, second time, different situation, identical result. You close the app. You open it again. The reason you are doing any of this has just shifted into something that has nothing to do with chess anymore. Rating, 1204. You keep playing. The reason is different now. Level 4, tournament regular. Your rating has been going up for 18 months now. And if you're honest with yourself, which you're not, this is the most dangerous thing that has happened to you since the party. The graph goes the right direction, month after month. You screenshot it. You may have shown someone. You have opinions about every opening now, and the opinion is almost always that it's garbage, and you'll explain why if asked, and also if not asked. You study for 2 hours on a Tuesday, then lose on Wednesday to someone who learned chess the previous Tuesday. You do not mention this. Your biggest problem at the club is a 12-year-old. He comes every Thursday with his father, orders a Coke, and beats you in the smooth, unhurried way that suggests he has been doing this since before he could reach the board without sitting on something. 6 weeks in a row. You have explanations for each loss. The explanations change every week. The losses do not. You sign up for the state open. The internal case is strong. Your opening prep is solid. Your endgame technique is cleaner than it's been. Your results over 18 months support it. You believe this completely. It is, briefly, a reasonable thing to believe. Marcus is in the same section. You don't face him until round 5. Same section, different corner of the room. He wins his game in 19 moves. You watch the last 7 while your own clock is running, which is probably part of why your game goes the direction it does. Afterward, someone who watched says something you didn't ask for. On move 11, when you reached for your knight, you paused just briefly then moved too fast. Like you were trying to outrun a position you already knew was bad. You didn't know you did that. Apparently you've been doing it for a while. The drive home is quiet in a specific way, not angry. Something more corrosive. You've been winning for 18 months, winning consistently. Winning in a way that felt like evidence of actual improvement. Winning in a way that let you believe the work was paying off. And now there's a question that arrived on the drive and won't leave by the time you park. Did 18 months of progress mean you were genuinely getting better? Or did it just mean you hadn't sat across from Marcus yet? That question doesn't have a clean answer. You're not going to find one here. Rating, 1914. Because he was better. Level 5, expert. You have a pre-game ritual. It is completely unhinged. You will not be explaining it. What you will say is this. You have spent 6 months studying the Sicilian dragon, the theory, the sharpest lines, the endgames that arise from the most critical variations, and you have not faced it once in tournament play. Not once. You have watched Magnus Carlsen games and said, yeah, I see it out loud, to yourself in a room alone. You did not see it. You beat everyone at work. You beat everyone at home. You start to feel like this might mean something real about your ability, rather than something real about the people you've been playing. This is the oldest mistake in chess. You are making it fresh, as though you invented it. One evening after a session that felt genuinely good, decisions quick, results cooperative, you do the calculation. Tournament prize money against entry fees against travel over the last year. You sit with the number. It is not ridiculous. That is the problem. Because once you've seen a number that isn't ridiculous, the next thought arrives without permission and cannot be unsent. What if this was the job? You mention it to your father. Not as a decision, just as something you've been thinking about. He doesn't argue. He doesn't say anything specific. He gives you the look of someone who has already decided a conversation is over and is simply waiting for you to finish talking. That look stays with you longer than any argument would have. Then, at the parking lot after the last round of a weekend Swiss, you see Marcus. He nods. You nod. And somewhere on the drive home, between the second and third traffic light, something arrives that is worse than anything he has ever done to you at a board. You have absolutely no idea if he thinks about you. Not whether he respects you, not whether he sees you as a rival, whether you register at all. You don't know if you're a player he has notes on or a game he played at a party years ago and hasn't considered since. You don't know if the thing that has been sitting underneath every game you've played for 2 years, the tabs at 1 a.m., the City Open, the Saturday she left, has any existence whatsoever on his side of the board. That question is worse than anything he has ever done to you at a chessboard. Rating 2001. You're already looking at the tournament calendar. Level 6, Candidate Master. The month you quit your job to play chess full-time, you run the worst you've run in 2 years. Not catastrophically. Just steady, grinding wrong. Every session ends slightly off. Every result goes the direction you didn't need it to go. And the correct decisions stop converting the way they did when the stakes were lower and rent wasn't in the equation. At this point, chess is less a hobby and more a personality disorder. You have strong opinions about pawn structures. You share them whether or not anyone asked, and the answer is almost always that no one asked. You play 200 bullet games in a single night, lose 40 rating points, and write it off in your notes as preparation. You spend 35 minutes on one move just to feel like you're thinking seriously. You explain your losses afterward using terminology so dense that somewhere in the middle of the explanation you lose the thread yourself. In April, you play the best theoretical preparation of your career. A novelty on move 14, 3 weeks of work, built specifically for a line you'd been tracking in one opponent's games. He finds the refutation over the board. It takes him 9 minutes. You lose in 31 moves. The position was winning. You just weren't better than him at the part that mattered when the preparation ran out. That's the part that stays. A bad month used to be a bad month. Now it means rent. The first thing that changes is how you sit down before a single piece moves, before a clock is pressed. You've already calculated what this week requires, and that knowledge pulls up a chair and sits at the board with you the entire session. It plays scared. It folds early. It is not a good chess player, and you cannot ask it to leave. The isolation arrives gradually, then all at once. Your schedule is opposite everyone else's. You work evenings. You sleep late. The people you know at tournaments are professional acquaintances, not friends. Not in the way that counts, and the distinction starts to matter in ways you didn't anticipate. The kid from the club doesn't come on Thursdays anymore. You heard he quit. You think about that sometimes and then you stop thinking about it. Then a good month, genuinely good. Best results in over a year. You sit with the final number and wait for something specific to arrive. What arrives is relief, the particular quiet of a threat that didn't materialize this time. Not satisfaction, not pride. Relief. You've known the difference between those things for a while now. Knowing it doesn't make it stop. Rating 2291. You register for the National Open before you close the laptop. Level 7, FIDE Master. Day 2 of the National Open and you have points. Real points, the kind that mean the other serious players have already looked you up between rounds, which you know because you've been doing the same thing to them since you arrived. Your dating profile still says chess player in the occupation field. You've decided this is honest rather than alarming. You think in chess notation during regular conversations. Now someone at a coffee shop says, "Let's move forward on this," and for half a second you picture a knight. You have persistent, unresolved beef with a player from a tournament 3 years ago. A draw you should have won on move 47. A decision he made that you still consider technically incorrect. You have never once mentioned this to anyone because you've learned how it sounds. Round 7, board 1. Marcus sits down across from you. He doesn't acknowledge the history. Not the party, not the parking lot, not the ex, not the years. He sets his clock. He plays 1.d4. He waits. You play the Nimzo Indian, his sharpest line, the one you've spent the most time inside. For 18 moves you navigate each other's preparation like two people in a narrow corridor, being very deliberate about not touching the walls. Neither of you is improvising. Both of you know it. Then, in the middle game, you find the sequence, the one you built. It works the tactics land where they were supposed to land. And for one moment, sitting at board 1 of the National Open across from the man who predicted your moves to a room and walked out with someone who mattered, you are exactly the player you have been trying to become since a Thursday night at a club when he reset the pieces without looking at the result. He finds a defense your preparation didn't cover. The position equalizes. You go into a rook endgame, a pawn down, and grind for 40 more moves, careful, technical. Nothing given away on either side until the draw is agreed on move 58. He writes the result in his score sheet, closes it, stands up. That's the whole interaction. Not a defeat, not a win. A draw against the best player you've ever faced at a tournament that matters after 2 years of 1 a.m. tabs and entry fees and a job you quit. You sit for a moment with what that actually means. Rating, 2341. 1 norm in the bag, tiebreak tomorrow. Level 8, International Master. Game 2, move 22. You sacrifice a piece. 3 weeks of preparation compressed into a single decision, a night offered on a square where declining leads somewhere worse and accepting leads somewhere you've already mapped. You place it and let go. Marcus pauses. Not the pause he uses when calculating. You've sat across from him enough now to know the difference. This is the other kind, the one where he's not looking at the board anymore but at the person across from it. Reassessing something he thought he already had. 4 seconds, maybe 5. He declines. That single decision tells you more than 100 moves would have. He goes into a worse ending and defends it precisely and without complaint for 29 more moves, then resigns on move 51 with the clean economy of someone who sees the finish line and decides not to walk to it. Second norm. The math on the third one is already running somewhere in the back of your head before the handshake is done. Your phone buzzes during the break. Ryan, heard you're in the tiebreak. Go absolutely off. Ryan, who has been following along from a distance the entire time, texting tournament updates as though he has any idea what's happening. You send back a thumbs up. This is the correct response. Game 3 is quiet. No sacrifices, no preparation novelties, just a positional grind, bishop versus knight, files and diagonals. The kind of endgame that takes 40 moves to decide and requires you to be right about small things consistently for a long time. Your king is more active by 1 square. That square is enough. On move 64, Marcus tips his own king over, sets it on its side carefully, extends his hand across the board. No bad luck, no collapse, no moment where it turned on something that shouldn't have happened. Just the game played correctly by both of you, and yours being better. The tournament director shakes your hand. Someone takes a photograph. There is a trophy and a check. Then the room starts to clear, and the noise drops, and you sit alone at the board for a moment with the pieces still out. You think about a party. A decorative chess set. A king left standing on purpose because finishing the game would have been a courtesy he hadn't decided you'd earned. You think about that for a long time. Rating, 2402. The room is almost empty now. Level 9, Grandmaster. 4 days after winning the National Open, you check the tournament calendar. Not because something is wrong, because the game is there and you want to play it. That's the part nobody prepares you for, not the winning, which is real, but the morning after. When the thing you spent years building toward has arrived, and the brain that built it has already moved on to the next question. The third norm comes 2 months later at an open in Europe, the way these things do, quiet, procedural, barely registered by you at the time. The title is confirmed in an email. You read it twice, close the laptop and go out for coffee. You play chess in your sleep now. Literally, you've woken up twice and written down moves before surfacing. And both times the moves were reasonable, which is either impressive or a symptom you've decided not to examine. You call a 6-hour grind where you barely converted a winning rook endgame, a nice little game. You lose to an engine and blame the time control. When you beat the engine, you post about it. These aren't new behaviors. They're just permanent. Marcus is still around. Still good. Still the same quiet, efficient player he was the first night he reset the pieces at the Thursday Club without looking at the result. You respect his game now in the clean, uncomplicated way you respect anyone who has been doing difficult work well for a long time. The other things, the parking lot nods, the years of tracking his results like a personal ledger, the second girl, the accumulated weight of a rivalry he may never have registered faded. Most things do, eventually. What's left is 2 professionals who know each other's games better than almost anyone else on the circuit. The game gave you things. Real things. A tolerance for uncertainty that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. The ability to make a decision, commit to it, and not go back. The specific resilience that comes from a long losing stretch weeks where nothing converts, where the correct moves keep producing incorrect results and coming out the other side without letting it rewrite what you know to be true. A career built from a $100 bet that was never going to be collected, and a friend who's been texting from the sidelines ever since. The game took something too. You know what it is. A Saturday afternoon that ended calmly, in a specific apartment, with someone who was right about you. You made that trade consciously, even when it didn't feel like a choice at the time. A new player sits down at the club a few weeks later. Mid-20s, nervous energy he's working to hide. He wins a small game and tries not to look pleased about it. He doesn't succeed. You don't say anything. You let him have it. You move on. If someone asked you right now the party, the 1 a.m. tabs, the Saturday she left, the birthday you missed, your father's look whether you'd do it again, you'd have to think about it. Rating, 2501. You're already looking at the next tournament. If this one stayed with you, like and drop a comment where you're watching from. Subscribe for more.